with a look at where our Ian Rappaport has been running around during training camp, apparently on his prop plane, which is cool.
That's true. Yep.
Ian is now in Allen Park, Michigan, with the Detroit Lions. Ian, you know, the Lions made Glover Quin a big free agent acquisition a few years ago from the Houston Texans, and they're a pretty big fan of the production they've gotten, and now they want to keep him around.
Yeah, one of the more productive defensive players. Rhett just signed him yesterday to a 2-year extension, pays him $13 million, a lot up front. He gets $9.5 million guaranteed. And, you know, Rhett, it's not one of those huge, high-profile deals like Xavier Rhodes got yesterday. But inside this Lions locker room and inside this building, this is a very important one. And the reason is because Glover Quin does everything right. And I've been here today when you talk to Lions people. That's basically what you learn, is that this is a guy who they're very happy to reward, the kind of guy that other players in the locker room look to, a leader on defense. And, you know, if you want to try to show a locker room full of players that if you do the right things, you act well on the field, off the field, you're productive, you get rewarded, Glover Quin is a very good example of that. By the way, also represented by the same agency, CAA, as Matthew Stafford is, so maybe a good sign for the future, maybe.
Yeah, working together, at least, to come to a common agreement there. And, you know, it'll help Glover Quin, who, you know, really has such a hold of that defense and kind of runs the show out there, that he kind of maybe helped take a rookie under his wing, a guy like Jared Davis, their first-round draft pick. What have the Lions seen out of him so far?
Yeah, that's a great point. And the Lions really like what they have seen from Jared Davis. And obviously, they're just a couple practices in. But the best thing about Jared Davis, and you never know what you get from a draft pick until they get in the building. They had the character reports on Davis. They were very, very good. All his marks were high pre-draft. He's a high character type of guy. And he has been that and more in the building as far as learning, as far as trying to understand what they're doing, as far as work ethic. You know, this is the guy they really hope is the face of their defense for the next 10 or 12 or more years. And if you're looking for a comparison as far as what kind of player Jared Davis is, the Patriots had Gerard Mayo for 10 years. He was their linchpin defensively. He was their brains of their defense. And Bill Belichick and the Patriots, I know, thought Jared Davis was similar, obviously never had a chance to take him. Well, that is exactly what the Lions hope they have in their first rounder from Florida.
Yeah, Bob Quinn, obviously there with the Patriots when Gerard Mayo was the stalwart of that defense. All right, Ian, let's move from Allen Park, Michigan, out to Costa Mesa, California, where the Chargers were really excited to get their first-round draft pick, the 7th overall pick, Mike Williams, on the field. But it sounds like, Ian, that he is – oh, hey, Greg Rosenthal's there with us as well. But let's stick there with Ian. We'll come back to Greg here in a moment. And Ian,
sorry, Greg,
some bad news about that first-round draft pick, Mike Williams. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, and the Chargers discussed this publicly yesterday, that Mike Williams back, which is something they believe is improving and certainly see the light at the end of the tunnel here, but it is not going to allow him to practice at least during training camp. So that is going to be several weeks for Mike Williams. He's done the rest part of it. He has stayed off his back, this herniated disc that he's been dealing with since actually rookie minicamp and OTAs. Now it's all about rehab. They do not believe that surgery is something that is in his future. They believe it is going to heal non-surgically. And Dr. Robert Watkins, who has been working with Williams, he believes that as well. It is just a timing matter now. And does he have enough time to be ready for the regular season, or is this someone who might have to miss a couple games?
Wow. All right. That's some unfortunate news there for the Los Angeles Chargers. And our Greg Rosenthal just couldn't wait for his close-up here at Inside Training Camp Live. Had to pop up a little bit early. But Greg, let's bring you back in here for a second, because safe to say that Mike Williams will not be a part of the Making the Leap series this year, maybe next year. But that an unfortunate development there for the Chargers, as they were hoping to have his big play potential.
It is absolutely a big loss. You lose a top 10 pick. But I don't think they're going to miss Mike Williams. I know that sounds crazy, but it was going to be tough for Mike Williams to break into this receiver group. That is how young, deep, and talented the receivers are that Phillip Rivers is throwing to. Think about the players that he has. Keenan Allen, 25 and under. Tyrell Williams, who had as many plays over 40 yards last season as any wide receiver in football. Travis Benjamin, the third receiver, can make a lot of plays out of the slot. Hunter Henry is so good and so young right now that he's going to put Antonio Gates on the bench in a role where he's really playing more in the red zone. Then you have Melvin Gordon catching passes out of the backfield. I look at this group, and I thought Mike Williams was really going to be number 6, number 7 in terms of targets on this team. And Tyrell Williams is the player that I really believe people are sleeping on. When you watch what he does after the catch in the red zone, really any part of the field, I think he can be a solid number 2 receiver to Keenan Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that big getting Keenan Allen back from injury for sure for Phillip Rivers and company. Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball and a guy who is a for sure making the leap candidate, but set the bar pretty high as a rookie despite missing a few games, and that's Joey Bosa, Greg.
Everyone knows Joey Bosa was great. I'm not breaking any news right there, but I don't think people really understand how great Joey Bosa was. When he came into the league, he immediately was a top 5 pass rusher. You just do not see that out of young outside linebackers or defensive ends. Now he's playing a more natural position for him in Gus Bradley. Think of what he did playing with that dislocated finger. He can do everything. He can stop the run. He can get around the edge as a pass rusher. You saw a lot of his sacks were on effort, where he does a spin move inside. They block it. Then he comes outside. He can do a little bit of everything. I think this defense is set up better for him. Him and Melvin Ingram across from each other, to me, is the best 1-2 punch pass rushing duo in the league. And as good as Joey Bosa was a year ago, I think he is ready to take the next step where he is talked about with Von Miller and J.J. Watt, maybe a Patrick Peterson, as a top 5 defensive player in the league. He really does not need to get that much better from his rookie season to be in that category.
Absolutely heroic reporting and insight there from our guy Greg Rosenthal, around the NFL team, making the leap is one of my most favorite series to read heading into training camp. Greg, appreciate it. Thanks very much, my friend. Hey, we sent our guys back to camp this year. It's also another one of my favorite parts about training camp. Steve Smith, our guy, our Steve Smith Sr., just retired from the Ravens, joined our team, decided to go back to camp with the Baltimore Ravens, and you're going to catch that tonight on Training Camp Primetime, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on NFL Network. From St. Joseph, Missouri, where the Chiefs have just wrapped up practice here this Monday morning on the campus of Missouri Western State University. Rhett Lewis here with my guy Daniel Jeremiah. And DJ, breaking news here from Chiefs practice. The guy who broke the Chiefs record for touchdowns by a rookie, Tyreek Hill, is really fast.
Yeah, no, he can go a little bit. He's not. It's not tough to notice either. And talking to some of the folks on the field before the game with the organization, they said, DJ, you should have been here for the conditioning test, because
that's always must-see TV.
Yeah,
right?
Which is always boring,
yeah.
Right? But they had to do about 1,200-yard sprints. So they said they get to about number 10, everybody takes off, and Tyreek Hill just stays there at the goal line. Lets everybody get to about the 40-yard line.
Oh no.
And then he goes and said he went flying by everybody. He was going so fast, he just started weaving in and out of his teammates. So he's got stupid speed.
I feel like we've probably seen that performance last year with him weaving in and out of defenses and in and out of kickoff teams, as he was such a dangerous guy and a dangerous asset here for this Kansas City Chiefs team for sure. But I don't think we can call him a breakout player in terms of fantasy football, because he broke out last year, no question about it. So with that then, now let's get to Michael Fabiano with his top 5 fantasy breakout players for this season.
Coming in at number 5 is Marcus Mariota. He showed flashes of breaking out last year, and the additions of Corey Davis and Eric Decker make him even more attractive for 2017. Mariota could be this year's Matt Ryan. At number 4 is Stephon Diggs. He ranked just 43rd in fantasy points among wideouts a year ago, but he averaged nearly 70 yards a game. If you can avoid injuries, Diggs should push for number 2 value at his position. Martavis Bryant comes in as my number 3 fantasy breakout player. Before last year's suspension, he scored 15 total touchdowns in his first 21 NFL games. Bryant's also put on 10 pounds of muscle, making him a real handful for opposing defenses. At number 2 is Terrell Pryor. He put up over 1,000 yards a year ago in Cleveland, and now will serve as the top wideout in what should be a prolific Redskins pass attack. My number 1 fantasy breakout player of the year is Isaiah Crowell. The Browns have built one of the best offensive lines in the league, and Crowell should benefit. He'll be worth as much as a 3rd-round pick in fantasy leagues.
All right, taking a look here for you at the NFL.com top 10 fantasy picks right now. And not a real surprise that David Johnson is leading the way as the number 1 overall. And trio of backs, your top 3 with Le'Veon Bell and Ezekiel Elliott. Also interesting to note there, Mike Evans, number 8 right now, averaging your NFL.com top 10 fantasy picks as we get you ready for your fantasy drafts if you haven't had them already. Kind of a late fantasy drafter.
Fab's anti-quarterback, by the way.
He is.
Very anti-quarterback.
Yeah, I'm a Wednesday before the Thursday kickoff game draft guy. I want to see everything that's transpired before making my selections. That's why I'm a 10-time fantasy champ. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there for you, DJ.
Oh, no. Your sister win any of those other ones, or was just the 2 of you in that league, right?
You're good. You're good. Doug Martin. Look at Doug here, who is... signed the big contract extension last year after a fantastic 2015 campaign, which saw him just shy of the league rushing lead behind Adrian Peterson, and then has been dealing with some issues, and one that is going to see him suspended for the first few games of this season. As we get you out here live to Bucs practice, Charles Sims, another guy that's a draft pick of the Tampa Bay Bucs that's kind of been in that mix for them to kind of boost that group a little bit here, DJ.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition in that room, and you talk about guys that can really run on the outside the perimeter and guys that can catch the football. To me, it's going to be about who runs the best between the tackles. That's who we're going to see step up while you're missing your starter for a couple weeks.
And there's my guy Ryan Griffin down there again, running the offense here for this Bucs team. And Mike Garafolo has been watching practice with us, is still with us there in Tampa. Hey Mike, how did the Bucs feel about the workout today?
Well, they worked out through a tropical depression, Rhett. I mean, I'm watching the weather report before I left the hotel, and I'm looking at the weather, and I'm saying, that thing is turning a hurricane. What's going on here? And then I hear the weatherman say, tropical depression, and I said, well, that's going to be it for practice. These guys aren't going to practice, and sure enough, they did. It's not raining now, but it was coming down pretty heavily. No lightning, but Dirk Cutter wanted these guys to work through the conditions because we've seen it. I mean, they had that weather delay against the Rams last year. You play in Tampa, particularly early in the season, you can deal with this kind of stuff. You're going to have to play through this kind of stuff. These guys open in Miami. So Cutter wanted them to be able to work through the conditions, particularly since they plan to be throwing the ball more, throwing the ball deep. So this team did not shy away from a wet, soggy workout today.
Yeah, good point. You know, these are conditions we've seen transpire, come regular season for the Bucs, with what they got to deal with there in the Florida weather. And I think you can kind of see behind them, they are building that indoor facility. I think, Mike, you were telling me you're going to be ready in about the middle of September, they hope. So that'll be a nice improvement to the facilities there at One Buck Place. This is a team of 4-2 against the NFC South a year ago, and was in the midst of a playoff race. So, DJ, I'm kind of interested to see how that maybe helps them take the next step this season as well, being so close.
Yeah, this is a very competitive division. I think injuries are a key in this division. Stay healthy if you're going to have any shot.
Yeah, and got to find a way to drum up some pass defense dealing with the quarterbacks in this division like Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and Cam Newton. All right, I look for you here at Tampa Bay Bucs practice. We'll be back here with the Bucs throughout the next couple of hours, and we've got more on the way here inside Training Camp Live, presented by Mitsubishi Motors. The Cowboys on the field again, getting set for the Hall of Fame game this week. That's next.